by bread alone. Yeah, this word got food in it. Stepping on the devil dome, you should see the bruise in it. Backing out the scripts, told a demon to stand down. Go against the Most High, we gon' see how it pan out. The Father gave me hope, fill me with the ghosts. Now they hate it when I glow. Joseph with the coat, looking for their fruit, but they ain't got no cantaloupe. The Messiah or Belial, you can't be a fan of both. Can't serve two masters. Bread of heaven with the living water, yeah, serving up a truth platter. We ain't idolizing no folly, now we setting up a new standard. When Christ touched down, make the whole earth shake like Bruce Banner. Yeah, bringing them troops to ya. End times getting spookier, warfare getting nuclear, mankind getting goofier. They intoxicated with a wine, damn, she done roofied them. I'm checking every word, spirit doctrine like a proofreader. I hate these Nicolatans, hate these graven idols, man, I hate these flipping pagans. Trying to play my father and I hate these imitations. Screaming out Hosanna, we escape that simulation. Better flee to me, vote these or else that lake is where you layin'. Great is he inside of me, casting out this net like I was by the Sea of Galilee. Harvest gon' be plenty, but the laborers are few. Matthew 17 and 20, there ain't nothing we can't do. I can't be no lukewarm, fringes with the blue on. Devil wanna deal, but I told him this ain't Groupon. Praise to the Almighty, you know we gon' sing a new song. Hail the King of King, the Ultra Low, no Jimmy Neutron. If you keep his laws and his commands, then we can fellowship. I don't get with Pharisees and I don't rock with Hellenists. I ain't praising man, cause only Father get my reverence. I'm swimming in the word, it got me feeling like a yellowfin. Yeah, big stepper, Mr. Demon Chin Checker, trying to hear that well done, cause I feel that displeasure. Father pouring out the wrath, and he got a big measure. If it ain't about the kingdom, then I don't give a six letter. You got faith in the Messiah, you got power. I was clean up in that blood just like a shower. Isaiah 5, you were the vine that came on sour, but now we stand to giving glory in this hour. Yeah, we breaking them curses, fleeing the ways of the serpent. Follow his word and pray for discernment, cause they want us laying in hearses. We gotta rise up, raise and resurface. Choose life and stay in your purpose. The price was paid like a merchant, through Christ who came as a servant. See, the kingdom is really the bag, but yet somehow they chasing a Birkin. After this you ain't getting a chance, while you living you can't but a searching. Gotta call on his name like it's urgent, never knowing that day is emerging. So repent at the weight of perversions, judgment coming, that thing is for certain. Let's go. Yeah. House of bread, feed the flock, no crumbs, full plate.
Welcome to the house of bread, where the hungry get fed, living water overflowing, just like the prophet said. We don't fold, we don't bend, we stand on what was read. Built on stone, not the sand. Yeah, we break that bread. House of bread, yeah, the oil gets stirred. If you starving for the truth, come and get fed. House of bread, yeah, the spirit get lit. Ain't no famine over here, we fed. Yeah. From the dark, now we walk in the light. I'm on tired, we ready to fight. Word cut deep like a blade in the night. Truth so heavy, make the demons take flight. Line upon line, yeah, we build it precise. Sacrifice daily, we paying the price. No gimmicks, no hype, no rolling the dice. Just discipline, order, and living it right. We was lost in the mist, blind in the maze. Now we breaking them chains, setting the blaze. 12 on our mind, counting the days, standing firm through the pressure and haze. No milk in the cup, it's me for the strong. Correction hit hard, but it make you belong. From weak to a leader, it don't take long. When the bread is solid and the doctrine strong. Welcome to the house of bread, where the hungry get fed, living water overflow, just like the prophet said. We don't fold, we don't bend, we stand on what was read. Built on stone, not the sand. Yeah, we break that bread. House of bread, yeah, the oil get spread. If you starving for the truth, come and get fed. House of bread, yeah, the spirit get lit. Ain't no famine over here, we fed. Out in the cold, still teaching bold, precepts unfold, mysteries told. Not chasing the silver, not chasing the gold. We chasing the kingdom, the prophets foretold. Structure in place, you see it in stance. Sisters in modesty, brothers advance. Righteous example in every glance. Not by luck, this ain't by chance. Iron sharpen iron, spars gon' fly. Correct with love, never let pride rise. Tears in the night, but we still testify. From ashes we rose, now we unified. Feeding the youth, restoring the men. Building the nation again and again. Law in the heart, not just in the pen. House of bread to the very end. Break it, pass it, let it multiply. Open the blind eyes, watch them come alive. From the dust we rise, no compromise. Spirit inside we fortify. No famine here we supply. Truth so pure can't be denied. Stand on the rock we solidify. house of bread, we unified. Storm hit hard, but we stayed intact. Enemy watching, plotting attack. Foundation solid, we never crack. Scriptures loaded, yeah, we react. Not here for fame, not here for views. Here to wake up to scatter juice. Cutting deception, exposing the news. Standing firm, we refuse to lose. Cam strong, unity tight. One body moving in power and might. Sword of the word, we swing it right. Turning the dark, straight in the light. From crumbs to lows, we multiply. From broken homes to sanctified. From dead inside to revived. House of bread, we alive. House of bread, yeah, the oil gets spread. If you starving for the truth, come and get fed. House of bread, yeah, the spirit get lit. Ain't no famine over here, we fed. We alive. Yeah, love. Welcome to the house of bread, where the hungry get fed. Living water overflow, just like the prophet said. We don't fold, we don't bend, we stand on what was read. Built on stone, not the sand. Yeah, we break that bread. House of bread. So bread, be alive. Yeah. House of bread. Feed the flock.
All right, Shalawam family. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, all glory, and all honor to the Most High God, whose name is Yahawah. Of course, we do so in the name of His only begotten Son, Hamashiach Yahawashi, of the world, inwardly called Jesus Christ. It's your brother Yasharahla, joined by my brother Yasharahla. Where again, we are the house of bread. Where our motto is Matthew 4:4, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God. Right. So again, house of bread, we come out here again just to edify people, right? To feed the sheep. Right. Shout out to is a brother by the name of Matawathya on Facebook. He made that song. It's been sent it to us, so all praise to the Most High. Shout out to that brother. I'm gonna see if I can find his YouTube channel, and I'm
yeah, that was fire.
Yeah, I'm gonna post him in the chat. Yeah, bro sent me this joint and sent me a whole bunch of other stuff. I'm like, oh, bro, this is lit. I'm like, yeah, I need that ASAP.
Yeah, bro.
But
that joint
was fire, man. Yeah, shout out to the brother Matawathya, man. Let me see. Yeah, here we go. Copy. All right, boom. So yeah, the brother's page on YouTube is called Contend for the Faith. So tap in with that brother. Barakath.
Yeah, bro, Cook. We might have to link, bro, because I got some projects and bro, coming that far.
Yeah, that was good, right? But before we dive into the topic, all right, we're diving into the parable of the prodigal son today. Before we dive into the topic, I just want to make sure everyone is, of course, tapped in with our various social media outlets. If you're not subscribed to, let me go ahead. If you're not subscribed to House of Bread here on YouTube, we are simulcasting here right now. Tap in with us, right? Make sure that you subscribe. Make sure you hit the link, hit the bell icon so you get notified whenever we go live. All right, as you can see, we live right now. Right, so make sure you subscribe to the House of Bread. Right, so shout out to the brothers Shar Kahan Kalakihawa. So that's the priest and Shanyam-ishar. They do live classes pretty much every Monday. So tap in with us on the live portion of the channel, right? If you're not subscribed to this channel, or if you're new, make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit that bell icon so you get notified as well whenever we go live. All right. Additionally, make sure that you are tapped in with us on Instagram. Right. Our Instagram is at House of Bread Camp with underscores in between each word. Right. So tap in with us, follow us. If you need access to our High Holy Day calendar, which we went over this past Sunday, right? You can get a copy of that. You just go to our bio here at House of Bread on on Instagram, and you can see our feast day calendar. All right. Additionally, make sure that you tap in with one of my IG pages, Gedalia Ariala, right? Making your finest bust down tassels, right? And then tap in with the brother Mayash. He also makes tassels, prestige way designs with underscores in between each word. So tap in with us, right, to get your tassels. Additionally, make sure you make your way over to hibofficialzion.com. Use the code. You can use the code ACT17 still, right? We did an ACT17 breakdown. Dang, it's been a minute now. What was it about? That'd be about like a month ago now, right? ACT17, use that code at checkout for 17% off your Hebrew Israelite Bible. All right. So let's dive into the topic, right? Let's dive into the topic, man. So the parable of the prodigal son. This is a parable that is grossly misunderstood by most individuals, most people, right? Most people just think of it as, people going astray, right? Let's say you were raised in the Christian church, right? Raised in the Christian church, you went to school, went to college, whatnot, and you weren't active in the church, and you were living, just living up life, and you came back to church. They say, okay, that's you being the prodigal son, right? But it truly goes deeper than that, right? I was raised in the church. I was baptized, dunked in the water when I was 6 years old. I was raised in church. Went to a Christian school from pre-K to 8th grade. Went to Catholic high school. When I went to college, I had a fun college experience, to say the least, right? Partied, BS, did all that stuff, right? Wasn't necessarily going to church or anything like that. Was on the gospel choir, but it was after I graduated when I went back to church, and I saw myself as kind of a prodigal son, right? But in all actuality, the prodigal son parable goes much deeper than that, right? And the Christian church is not the way, is not home. The Most High God, the Father, is not in the Christian church, right?
Right.
So we're going to dive into the parable of the prodigal son, and just give our people that edification, right? So when most people hear parable of the prodigal son, again, they think it's simply a story about personal sin and forgiveness. But in the world of the Second Temple Judaism, as it's called, the world which Yahawashi lived and taught in, parables were often on a national, historical, and covenantal level, right? Let's think about some of the parables that Christ gives. He gives parables of the sower, right? He gives parables of the talent, right? We look at the parable of the sower. It's talking about agriculture. Why was that important? Because the Israelites were an agrarian society. The Israelites, right? Their whole culture was surrounding the harvest in various feast days, right? So again, many of these parables, they were one, national, historical, and on covenantal levels, not just personal ones. Today, we're going to explore how the parable of the prodigal son can be understood as a powerful allegory about Hellenized Jews and Israelites returning to the covenant, right? And the resentment of those who never left, and how the blood of Hamashiach Yahawashi, who the world calls Jesus Christ, how his blood, who the promised Messiah, how his blood reconciles and brings reconciliation up to the whole nation of Israel, right? So when we look at, it was funny, I was looking at my notes earlier this week as I was getting prepared for this lesson, as well as just getting prepared for Passover. Passover is around the corner. Passover is going to be March 31st, right? And you can get a copy of our feast day calendar on our Instagram. Link is in the bio, right? Now, as I was looking at my notes, I saw I had a note that had the Yahawashi's parables, right? It basically was an outline of the Yahawashi's parables. And when we look at his parables, right? Let's look at them, right? You got salt of the earth, right? Lamp under a bowl, right? You got the wise and foolish builders. You have the new cloth and old coat, right? You got the new wine and old wineskins. You got the two debtors. You have the sower. You have the good Samaritan, right? You have a friend at midnight, growing seeds, the rich fool, the watchful servant, right? You have all these different parables, right? The wheat and the tare, right? And what's interesting about the parable of the prodigal son, and likewise the parable of the good Samaritan, right? We might have to dive into that lesson, that parable. I have wanted to do a series on Yahawashi's parables. I have been talking about doing it for years now, right? For a couple of years. But what's interesting about the parable of the prodigal son is that it's only found in the Gospel of Luke, right? Now, funny enough, none of Yahawashi's parables are found in the Gospel of John, if I'm not mistaken, right? They're all found in what people call the Synoptic Gospels. The Synoptic Gospels being Matthew, Mark, and Luke. Now, Matthew is an eyewitness. Mark is not an eyewitness. Luke is not an eyewitness. John is an eyewitness, right? But when we're looking at the parables of Yahawashi, right? The parable of the prodigal son appears only in the book of Luke. And that's very interesting for a couple of reasons, right? And we'll dive into it in just a second. Maya, if you can, get me Luke 15 and read just verse 32.
Come on. All right, this is Luke 15, verse 32. It was meet that we should make merry and be glad, for this thy brother was dead and is alive again, and was lost and is found.
So he was lost and is found, right? Now, one of the reasons why the prodigal son parable is very interesting that it's only found in the Gospel of Luke, because contrary to popular belief, Luke was a Hellenized Jew, right? And I'm not the only one that's saying this, right? You have scholars, right? Scholars such as Gregory E. Sterling and David Andrew Smith lean to this conclusion as well. Luke's gospel, including this parable, is very apropos, right? It's very appropriate because Luke, again, being a Hellenized Jew, right? He's now coming back to the Commonwealth of Israel, right? Paul talks about how, actually, let's get that real quick. I think it's Ephesians 2 and 11.
Yep.
Ephesians chapter 2 and verse 11.
It's Ephesians 2, verse 11. Wherefore remember that ye being in time past Gentiles.
That you being what?
Time past Gentiles.
He said, you being in time past Gentiles. If Gentile is to mean non-Israelite, family, right? Let's put our thinking caps on, right? Let's put our thinking caps on. If being a Gentile in this context is to mean non-Israelite, how can you be in times past a non-Israelite and now be an Israelite?
Right.
Can I be in times past a Chinese man and now I'm an African American? No, that doesn't make a lick of sense, right? So again, the idea that Paul is writing to non-Israelites is laughable when you truly understand the cultural context, right? If you truly understand, right, not just the age of Hellenization, right, which we read about in the books of First and Second Maccabees, but when you truly understand ancient Israelite culture, right, going far back as the the late Bronze Age. You already had Israelites going in the way of the Gentiles, following the Gentiles, right? Worshiping other gods other than our nationalistic God, the Most High God, Yahawah, right? And us engaging in not only trade, right, but maritime trade, and us having a hand in the development of different societies in the Mediterranean world. Part of the Mediterranean world would include Greece, Asia Minor, what's known as Anatolia, right? Again, shout out to the brothers over at Rungadal Gabarium, right? I shouted them out last week. The good brother Panah did an amazing presentation. I shout out to bro because he sent me the PDF. Let me tell you something. A plethora of sources demonstrating how the tribe of Judah and really the tribe of Dan had a heavy influence in the Peloponnese, in the Aegean, right? In what we call Greece, right? So before Alexander comes on the scene, right? Before the Edomites, they make their way up into Macedonia, right? You already had Israelites who formed Greek or the culture of Hellas, right? The term Hellas doesn't even come from them, right? So as far back as the late Bronze era, right? Bronze Age, which is right after we're coming out of the land of Egypt, you have Israelites that are engaging in this commerce, engaging in this trade, right? Engaging in paganism and all types of stuff, right? And then we fast forward to the time of the Medo-Persians, right? We read about how under Ezra and Nehemiah, there was literally a judgment made by Ezra. And the people said, your judgment we will follow. Where we literally exiled our heathen wives and our children with those heathen wives. Last time I checked, if you are an Israelite, that means your child is an Israelite. So you have a diaspora going as far back as the late Bronze Age. And now you also have a diaspora, right, during, what's this, like the, what's this, the 7th? No, this has to be like the 4th and 5th centuries AD, not AD, BCE, right? Well, here's the thing, OD Israel, right? He said Ezra was acting in his own eyes. The Most High never commissioned him to do that. The Most High God, as a judge and according to the law, gave him the authority to do so, right? And then the men made a vow, right? They made a vow,
right?
And that's why they got cast off. So again, you have this dispersal, right? This diaspora, right? I don't think we ever did it, right? But we were going to do earlier this past year, we were going to do a lesson on how mushrooms and sea moss are not unlawful as we were previously taught, right? And funny thing about the word diaspora, right? The word spore, which mushrooms grow from, it literally means seed. And we look at the word diaspora, it literally means, it's used in the context of the Bible as a scattering of the seed of Israel. Right? So also think about our presentation last week on Romans 11, right? Jeremiah 11 says that Israel is a green olive tree and that the branches are broken. Then the next chapter says that my heritage is as a speckled bird. All the birds round about her are against her, right? And they come to devour. So these branches get broken off. On these branches are trees, are fruits that have seed in them. The birds come and devour them, those branches, the fruit on those branches, and they go and disperse those seeds all over the world, right? And hence the prophecy of us being scattered to the four corners of the earth begins to be fulfilled, right? Us being scattered had been being fulfilled since the late Bronze Age, right? So again, going back to this topic of the parable of the prodigal son and what the prodigal son goes and does, right? it's very important to understand all of this history and all this cultural context of what was going on, right? So, where were we, right? So let's read verse 32 again.
Con. That was Luke 12.
Actually, no. So no, Slaki.
No.
We're in Ephesians 2:11, right?
Oh, Slaki. Con. Ephesians 2:11. Wherefore remember that ye being in time past Gentiles in the flesh.
In the what?
In the flesh.
You were in times past a Gentile in the flesh. How can someone be a Gentile in the flesh? Right? Let's read.
It's like, yeah, this, this is a good a good cut for just spiritual Israel, period. Because if you're saying Gentiles in the flesh in time past, then this can't be. We know, those who believe in spiritual Israel believe that Israelites can be part of that spiritual Israel. But in times past, they would have never been considered Gentiles, right? In the flesh, right? So this can't, that's just another pointer. Like if it's saying in the flesh, right? This has to be talking about a people biologically, right? Again, time past Gentiles in the flesh who are called uncircumcision.
Called the uncircumcision. Now, why would they be called that? Right? They would be called that because according to the law, which Paul believes in, all things written in the law and in the prophets. Let's go to the Torah. Last time I checked, Genesis is part of the Torah, right? Right. So boom, right? Watch this, right? So Genesis chapter 17, right, is where we get the covenant of circumcision, right? And this covenant is for Abraham and his children, right? His descendants, right? So I'll read from verse 9. So Genesis 17:9. And God said to Abraham, as for you, you shall keep my covenant, and you and your offspring after you throughout their generations. This is my covenant which you shall keep between me and you and your offspring after you. Every male among you shall be circumcised. You shall be circumcised in the flesh of your foreskins. And it shall be a sign of the covenant between me and you. Right? This word for sign, if I'm not mistaken, is the Hebrew word, as our small hat friends will call it, oath, right? Where we get the word oath from, right? Where we at? It says that this should be a sign, right? They pronounce it oath or awath, right? If I'm not mistaken, this is the same word that's used in Deuteronomy chapter 28 and 45, which says that the curses will be a sign on us due to what? Our disobedience, right? So looking here, right, it goes on to say, it should be a sign of the covenant between you and me and you. He who is 8 days old among you shall be circumcised. Every male throughout your generations, whether born in your house or bought with your money, from any foreigner who is not of your offspring. So let's say I have slaves, right? They're of the other nations. Let's say that I give that slave a wife, that slave and his wife, they have children, right? Those children are my slaves. That man child, that baby, if it's a boy, has to be circumcised on the 8th day, right? The day I buy a slave of a heathen nation, he's uncircumcised. He has to get circumcised, right? This is the covenant that God made with us and our children, with Abraham and his descendants. And we went into this last week, who the seed of the promise is. The seed of the promise, right, is to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. No one else, right? So all praise to the Most High. I just had a son, and guess what? We got him circumcised on the 8th day, right? If you just get circumcised in the hospital, they get circumcised on the 2nd or 3rd day, right? It's up to you as a parent, as a father, to get your male child circumcised on the 8th day, right? listen, the scripture talk about how Zipporah, Moses' wife, right, his Midianite wife, she had to circumcise Gershom and Eleazar because Moses was playing around, right? And the Lord almost killed Moses because of that. And Zipporah called him a bloody husband. Cut the foreskin and threw it at him, right? So the covenant of circumcision is important, right? If you're not circumcised on the 8th day, let's read what's going to happen. It goes on to say, verse 13, both he who is born in your house and he who is brought with your money shall be circumcised. So shall my covenant be in your flesh, an everlasting covenant. Any uncircumcised male who is not circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin shall be cut off from his people. He has broken my covenant. Right now, again, he's supposed to get circumcised on the 8th day. My son is 5 months, right? He's just learning how to hold his bottle by himself. Could he have circumcised himself on the 8th day? No, right? No, he couldn't have. So it's on the parent. It's our jobs as fathers, right, and as men to lead our families, right? Even when you look at the word for father in Hebrew, Abba, right? You have the alap or the aleph character, and then you have the bayath or the bait character, right? It literally is an ox in a tent, an ox in a house. A father is to lead his family, lead his house as he leads cattle. When we read the Bible, it tells us that Abraham was rich, right, in gold and silver and manservants and maidservants and in cattle, right? And that's going to play a very important a point as we go into this parable. A cow is worth a lot of money. A cow is worth a lot of money. And it's worth more money alive than you eating it, because you use your cows to plow your fields. Very important, right? So it goes on to say that if you are uncircumcised, you're cut off from the people. That's in the law, right? So that you have broken God's covenant. So when it says that you were in times past Gentiles in the flesh called uncircumcision by that which is called the circumcision, this plays a very important role in understanding what's going on in this parable of the prodigal son, right? It says, by which is called circumcision, which is made in the flesh by hands, right? Read on.
Verse 12. That at that time you were without Hamashiach, being aliens from the commonwealth of Israel, and strangers from the covenants of promise, having no hope and without God in the world.
All right, so it says, so I had it in the ESV, right now, it's in the ESV. It says you were alienated from the commonwealth of Israel and strangers to the covenant of promise, having no hope and without God in the world. Why? Because you've broken the covenant, right? Now God's contrary to you, right? Leviticus 26 is where we see the curses first, right? Then we see other curses in Deuteronomy 28. Leviticus 26, I believe in verse 26, it says, if you walk contrary to me, I will walk contrary to you, right? So now we're without God, right? Isaiah 59:1 says that your iniquity separates you between you and your God, right? So these people that Paul's writing to in Ephesus specifically, right? But again, he's the apostle to the Gentiles. These are Israelites, right? We went over Romans last week, okay? In Ephesians, his epistle to the Ephesians, he writes to the saints in Ephesus. Only the Israelites are called saints. And again, if this is to mean non-Israelites, they cannot be in times past Gentiles. If Gentiles is to mean
right,
non-Israelite, right? So again, they were alienated from the commonwealth of Israel. This is what we just read in Genesis 17. Any uncircumcised man who is not circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin shall be cut off from his people. He have broken my covenant. Or let's look at this word for commonwealth, right? Let's read this word Commonwealth. Politeia. Politeia. I think that's where we get the word polity from, right? Administration of civil affairs. A state or commonwealth. Citizenship. Rights of a you were alienated from the rights of the citizens of Israel, right? The Torah essentially is the constitution of the nation of Israel. And if you've broken the covenant by not being circumcised, you're cut off from the people. It's very simple, right? So let's read on. Verse 13.
Verse 13. Slocky. Verse 13. But now in Hamashiach Yahawashi, ye whom sometimes were far off are made nigh by the blood of Hamashiach.
You're now made nigh by the blood of Hamashiach, right? I want to get real quick Isaiah chapter 53, right? Isaiah 53, right? I was literally just going over Isaiah 53 earlier today. I've been preparing. We're preparing for Passover, right? And I was putting together our program, right? And we're going to go into, of course, Isaiah 53, right? So Isaiah 53, this is the ESV. Where do I want to start? Oh, this is all good, right? Watch this. Verse 4, it says, surely he has borne our griefs and carried our sorrows, yet we esteemed him stricken, smitten by God, and afflicted. But he was pierced for our transgression. Not being circumcised is a transgression. It says he was bruised for our iniquities. Upon him was the chastisement that brought us peace, and with his wounds we are healed. All we like sheep have gone astray. Who did Christ come for? The lost sheep of the house of Israel, right? Because we have turned everyone to his own way, and the Lord has laid on him the iniquity of us all, right? I'm gonna jump down to verse 8. It says, by oppression and judgment he was taken away, and as for his generation, who considered that he was cut off out of the land of the living, meaning his blood was shed. It says, stricken for the transgression of my people. And who is God's people? Israel, right? I think the KJV says Israel specifically.
I'm in the KJV. It says,
no, it says of my people was he stricken.
Yeah.
Right? Again, it's still, we all know who his people are, right? So now that we've gone over Ephesians 2, right? Actually, there's one more thing I wanted to break down here, right? So it says that we are now in Christ, right? Sometimes we're far off, we're made nigh through the blood, right? For he was our peace, right? It says the chastisement of our peace was upon him, and by his stripes we are healed in Isaiah 53. It says, who have made both one, again, the reconciling of the people, and have broken down the middle wall of partition between us, right? What's that middle wall of partition between us, right? Them being alienated from the Commonwealth of Israel. So it's abundantly clear what's being spoken of, all right, in Paul's epistles, right? And of course, in Yahawashi's parables, right? So let's go to Luke chapter 15, right? And let's read verse 32 again.
Times Luke 15 and 32. It was meet that we should make merry and be glad. For this thy brother was dead and is alive again, and was lost and is found.
He was dead, he's made alive again, he was lost, and he was found, right? So let's get Proverbs 21 and 16, right? The prodigal son was dead, but through the mercy of and grace of the Father, he now is allowed to come back home. And it all comes through what? Through the blood of Hamashiach Yahawashi. Because like even when we go back to Isaiah 53, it says that verse 10, yet it pleased the Lord to bruise him. He hath put him to grief. When thou shalt make his soul an offering for sin, he shall see his seed, and he shall prolong his days, and the pleasure of the Lord shall prosper in his hand. Right? So God was happy with putting his only son, right, his only begotten son, right, his one-of-a-kind son, his favorite son, to death for the nation of Israel, right? Shout out to the brother Abaya from Inside the Nation. He did a really good presentation about a month ago called The Covenant of the Pieces, right? So there was there was actually this Near Eastern custom, right? Of, let's say me and Mayash, we are making a covenant with each other, right? And the custom was we would take animals, we would cut them in half, right? Cut them literally in half. Put the animals on one side on this side, and one side on that side, right? And we would walk through the pieces, right? And that was symbolic. And we would basically say that if we don't hold up our end of the bargain of this covenant that we're making, let us be torn as these animals were, right? And that's exactly what the Most High God did with Abram, right before he was Abraham. If I'm not mistaken, I believe that's Genesis, the 15th chapter, right? Abraham was put in a deep trance. He was told to get these animals, to prepare them, right? Cut them in half, put the pieces on each side, right? And Abraham is put into sleep. And then there's a cloud, which is a chariot. It walks through the pieces alone. It's supposed to be two parties. So really what was going on was Yahawashi, right, was walking through those pieces. So the promises of Abraham, right, were all on the back and on the responsibility of Hamashiach Yahawashi, right? And that's why his blood was shed for the nation of Israel, right? So with that said, right, let's go to Proverbs 21. Yep.
Proverbs 21:16. The man that wandereth out of the way of understanding shall remain in the congregation of the dead.
So the man that wandereth out of the way of understanding shall remain in the congregation of the dead, right? He was once dead and now he's alive, right? Because what was the prodigal son doing? We're going to dive into that, right?
You want Ezekiel 30?
No. What is Ezekiel 30?
Salakia 30. That's 37, right? The dry
bones. The dry bones. That plays into it, but not too much, right? So again, the father says that the younger prodigal son was also lost and found, right? Let's go to Psalm 119 in verse 176.
Psalm 119, verse 76. Let I pray thee.
Actually, start up at start from verse 170.
Start from verse 170.
Yeah, 170.
Psalm 119, verse 170. Let my supplication come before thee. Deliver me according to thy word.
Deliver me according to thy word. Who is Yahawashi's word? I mean, who's the Most High God's word? Yahawashi, right? Interesting. Read on.
My lips shall utter praise when thou hast taught me thy statutes.
Mm-hmm.
My tongue shall speak of thy word, for all thy commandments are righteousness.
All thy commandments are righteousness. Read on.
Let thine hand help me, for I have chosen thy precept.
Let thy hand help me, right? I was talking to the priest the other day, right? And I was going through, I forgot what I was going through something. The brother had sent me something and asked me to look into something. And as I was going through it, I came across Deuteronomy 9 and 10, right? Which says, and the Lord delivered unto me two tables of stone written with the finger of God, right? And then was writing according to all the words which the Lord spake with you in the mouth of the on the mount out of the midst of the fire in the day of the assembly. Now, Moses first had an encounter with a spiritual being at in the wilderness with the burning bush, right? That's Yahawashi, right? We understand that with John 5, it was at John 7:58, before Abraham was I am, right? That's exactly what the angel said, right? The angel is a messenger. The angel brings the words of the Heavenly Father to the intended audience, right? Now, when Moses went up and got the 10 commandments, the tablets, right? It says it was written by the finger of God, right? Well, Where are your fingers? Your fingers are on your hands. Your hands are on what? Your arm. Now, the Bible says in Isaiah 53:1, who hath believed our report, and to whom is the arm of the Lord revealed? Who is the arm of the Lord? Yahawashi is the arm of the Lord. So when it says right here in Psalm 119, and verse 173 says, let thy hand help me, for I have chosen thy precepts, right? Again, Yahawashi is all in the law and the prophets, right? When the prophets are, when the scriptures say that the word of the Lord came unto the prophet such and such saying, more times than not, it's Yahawashi, right? He's the word of Yahawah, right? So read on.
John verse 174. I have longed for thy salvation, O Yahawah, and thy law is my delight.
Thy law is my delight. The law is important. The law is imperative for salvation, right? Read on.
Let my soul live, and it shall praise thee.
Mm-hmm.
Let thy judgments help me.
Come on.
I have gone astray like lost sheep.
I have gone astray like a lost sheep.
Seek thy servant, for I do not forget thy commandments.
It says, seek thy servant. Now, Yahawashi talked about himself being the good shepherd, right? He said, he says, actually, let me find it. Let me get it real quick, right? He leaves the other 99 to go find the one that's lost.
John 10.
This is John. I think it's Matthew 18. Matthew 18, 99 plus 1, right? So it says, verse 10, right? It says, take heed that ye despise not one of these little ones. For I say unto you that in heaven their angels do always behold the face of my Father which is in heaven. For the Son of Man is come to save that which is lost. Yahawashi said that he has come to save that which is lost. In order for you to be lost, you had to be not found. Found not the word, right? I remember when I was a kid, right? My dad took me and my siblings to what's the face? Sesame Place, right? And we were in like a little souvenir spot, right? And I'm looking at some souvenirs. Next thing I know, I look up. My dad, my brother, and my sister are gone. I'm scared as hell. I'm like maybe anywhere between 8 to 10 years old. So they have, of course, a little child lost and found location. I go there, right, to try to wait for my dad to come find me, right? I'm not sure how much time went by, but I was looking out the window. I saw my dad, and I just ran out to him. I'm like, yo, you guys just left me, right? So I was lost, but then luckily I found them, right? But again, even when you're in school, you lose something, you got the lost and found, right? In order for something to be lost, you must have once possessed it. Christ said that he came to save that which was lost. That means it was in the possession of who? Possession of God. And then it went astray and got lost. Now it needs to be found, right? Verse 12, it says, how think ye if a man have 100 sheep, and one of them be gone astray? Doth he not leave the 99 and goeth into the mountains and seeketh that which is gone astray? And if so be that he find it, verily I say unto you, he rejoiceth more of that sheep than of the 99 which went not astray. Even so is not the will of your Father which is in heaven, that one of these little ones should perish. Right? I forget where it's. I believe it's in the book of Psalm. It says that the Most High doesn't have pleasure in the death of his saints. Right? So again, who went astray? We've all been lost sheep. We've all gone astray, right? And the good shepherd, the sheep are going to hear his voice. Listen, I want y'all to look up on YouTube, right? Shepherd A shepherd calling, right? Let's see if we can find it. Shepherd calling sheep. Watch this. Uh-oh. So these people are doing the call for the sheep, right? This is not the shepherd. This music is killing me. Obviously, that woman's voice is different from the first gentleman's voice, right? Now the farmer, the shepherd. Look how their heads is poked up. Look at that. Look at that. You see that? Yahawashi said, "My sheep hear my voice." Right now, real quick, let's go to So yeah, we wrapped up on Psalm 119, right? Let's go to. Oh man,
You done with Luke?
no, I want to. Go to the book of Matthew. Matthew chapter 13, right? And start verse 10, right?
Come.
We look at the top of Matthew 13, Yahawashi is doing what he's teaching in parables, right? So let's read verse 10.
Come. Matthew 13 verse 10. And the disciples came and said unto him, Why speakest thou unto them in parables?
Why speakest thou unto them in parables? Why are you talking to these people in parables? Right? Listen, there's a brother who we used to labor with. Shout out to the elder Matawathya. Matawathya will be out teaching, right? And he'll be talking to a random ass Israelite sister, Israelite brother, right? Again, they're not in the truth. They don't know that they're Israelites. And he's talking to them in parables. I'm like, bro, stop talking to these niggas in parables. They don't know what the hell you talking about.
Hell of parables.
I'm like, bro, come on, dog. You gotta chill, bro. Right? But Yahawashi spoke to them in parables for a reason. Read on.
Verse 11. He answered and said unto them, Because it is given unto you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it is not given.
To them it is not given. So Yahawashi spoke in parables, right? Because it's not for everyone to understand, right? And again, he's talking to Israelites.
Right.
When we look at Isaiah chapter 6, right? Again, we talked about the arm of the Lord, right? Isaiah chapter 6, right? It says, make the heart of this people fat, right? Isaiah 6, in verse 8, it says, and I also heard the voice of the Lord saying, whom shall I send? And whom will go for us? Then said I, here am I, send me. And he said, go and tell this people, hear ye indeed, right? Those sheep heard those other people, right, trying to call them, right? They were paying them no mind. They heard them, right? I'm sure they heard it, right? So go speak to these people, right? Right? It says, go and tell these people, hear ye indeed, but understand not. See ye indeed, but perceive not. Make the heart of these people fat, and make their ears heavy, and shut their eyes, lest they see with their eyes, and hear with their ears, and understand with their heart, and convert and be healed. So the Most High is not going to, of course, heal everyone of the nation of Israel, right? Yahawashi says, no man can come to me except the Father draw him, right? So now going back to Matthew 18, when Yahawashi is asked of the apostles, well, why are you speaking unto them in parables, right? He says because not Matthew 18, Matthew 13. It's because it's given to you, his disciples, or the ones that hear his word. It's given to you to understand the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, right? These parables are, again, the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, right? So now, real quick, so again, we saw Psalms 119, verse 176, that again, we've been lost sheep that have gone astray, right? Yahawashi said he's come to seek that which is lost, right? He'll leave the 99 that weren't lost to go find the one. That was his role, right? So the prodigal son was lost when he forsook the commandments, i.e., the ways of the Father, which is the wisdom that's prescribed for the children of Israel to keep, as we see in Deuteronomy 4, verses 5 through 6. But he is found through Hamashiach Yahawashi, right? Let's go to Matthew chapter 10, right? Matthew 10 and verse 5.
God.
We haven't even really cracked open the parable yet, right? But again, we got to lay it out, right? So we can dive into the parable to get the understanding. Again, Yahawashi spoke in parables for a specific reason, right? And again, he gave his disciples, who, again, before we even dive into this, Yahawashi said to Peter 3 times, Simon, Peter, lovest thou me? He says, yes, Lord, you know I love you. He said, feed my sheep or feed my lambs. Right, and this is why we take our jobs very seriously here at House of Bread, right? Right, our goal is to feed the sheep of God, right? Feed Yahawashi's sheep with the bread of life, right? With the word. Yahawashi is the word. Yahawashi is the bread of life, right? This is why when he said, when he said, "Eat my flesh and drink my blood," people were astonished by that, were offended and left. Right, they were astonished by that, right? But we're getting ready to, and again, this is all through the Spirit because we're getting ready for Passover, right? Right, as I've been working on our whole program, right? Again, we're touching on these different passages, right? The words of Yahawashi are very important. John 6:63 says, "It is the Spirit that quickeneth; the flesh profiteth nothing. The words that I speak to you, they are spirit and their life." So the words of Yahawashi are extremely important because guess whose words they are? Father's words, right? So let's read Matthew, Salakia,
10 and 5.
10 and 5.
God, Matthew 10 and verse 5. These 12 Yahawashi sent forth.
You cut out. Say that again.
Am I good?
Yeah, you're good now.
Khan, Salakia. These 12 have I sent forth and commanded them, saying, Go in, Salakia, go not into the way of the Gentiles, and into any city of the Samaritans enter ye not. But go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
Go to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Right, read on.
Khan. And as ye go, preach, saying, the kingdom of heaven is at hand.
The kingdom of heaven is at hand, right? And the kingdom of heaven literally is the children of Israel ruling over all nations with Christ, right? So again, Yahawashi told us to go to the lost sheep of the house of Israel, right? In Matthew 15 and 24, again, he told the Canaanite woman, says, but the answer said, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel, right? Again, we read in Matthew 18:11, right? Yahawashi says, for the Son of Man is come to save that which is lost, right? So again, the brother who left, right, in the parable of the prodigal son, he left, right? He was lost, and he's found. And this is why Yahawashi is giving that parable, because again, these parables are the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, right? So Yahawashi attests that he was sent and came only for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And instructing his disciples to go to them, right? Jeremiah 15:6, again, another attestation to the fact that we, right, the children of Israel, that we are lost sheep, right? So let's read Jeremiah chapter 50 from the top.
Come on, this is Jeremiah 50, starting at verse 1. The word of the Lord spake against Babylon and against the land of the Chaldeans by Jeremiah the prophet. Declare ye among the nations and publish and set up a standard Publish and conceal not.
Uh-huh.
Say, Babylon is taken.
Mm-hmm.
Bel is confounded. Merodach is broken in pieces.
Mm-hmm.
Her idols are confounded. Her images are broken in pieces.
Right. Read on.
For out of the north there came up a nation against her, which shall make her land desolate,
Uh-huh.
and none shall dwell therein. They shall depart both man and beast.
Come on.
In those days and in that time, saith Yahawah, the children of Israel shall
Who?
The children of Israel.
So this is a prophecy of Babylon, right? This is clearly talking about spiritual Babylon, right? America, right? Because it says that he will make the land desolate, right? When the Medo-Persians came and took over Babylon, right? They didn't make the land desolate, right? So this is talking about America, right? This is why we say Matawathya ball, right? So it says, in those days, read on.
In those days and in that time, saith Yahawah, the children of Israel shall come.
Mm-hmm.
They and the children of Judah together.
Anyone else?
They and the children of Judah together.
So they and the children of Judah, the children of Israel and the children of Judah, right? Northern and southern kingdom together are going to do what?
Going and weeping. They shall go and seek Yahawah, their God.
Their God. Read on.
Verse 5. They shall ask the way to Zion with their faces thitherward, saying, come and let us join ourselves to Yahawah in a perpetual covenant.
In a perpetual covenant. This is the new covenant. Read on.
That shall not be forgotten.
Shall not be forgotten. Now, why is this perpetual covenant not going to be forgotten? Right? God, the Most High God doesn't forget covenants. We forgot the covenant, right? We don't keep his commandments. We don't keep up our end of the bargain. The reason why it's not going to be forgotten because the Most High God is going to literally program the laws in our inward parts pursuant to Jeremiah 31. Right? Read on.
Salakia, just like an analogy, it's like, just like it's natural for man to cleave to life, right? There's demonstrations of a baby, right? You put them in the water, their first instinct is to turn on their back and float just so that they can breathe.
Yeah.
They didn't have to be taught that. It's just programmed in us to naturally cleave to life.
Yeah. And again, the commandments is what? Life. The law is life. That's cold.
Verse again.
Verse 6.
Start verse 6. My people have been lost sheep. Their shepherds have caused them to go astray.
Meaning their leaders. Their leaders have caused them to go astray. There's a lot of you niggas getting led astray right now. Right? You got shepherds leading you astray. Right? You got shepherds over here telling you, hey, you can buy and sell and cook on the Sabbath when God says don't do that. Right? You got niggas telling you, oh yeah, now if you're uncircumcised, you can eat the lamb at what they're calling Passover. God doesn't say that, right? You got a lot of niggas being led astray by some really base niggas who have been exalted in this community. And again, I'm not surprised because Yahawashi said, he says, blessed thou when men shall revile you and speak all men as evil against you. And he said, woe to you when men shall speak well of you, for so did their fathers, the false prophets. Right? That's what we're seeing happening right now. Right? We're living that right now. Right? So it says, my people have been lost sheep. They've all gone astray. Read on.
Their shepherds have caused them to go astray. They have turned them away on the mountains. They have gone from mountain to hill they have forgotten their resting place.
So our resting place is Zion, right? The
Con.
habitation of the Lord, right? Of Yahawah, right? So our shepherds, our leaders have led us to go astray, right? And follow different ways, right? And again, here we see the same thing happening today. There's no new thing under the sun, right? So again, these lost sheep, right? This is who Yahawashi was sent to, right? This is who Yahawashi came to save, right? So now let's get into actual parable, right? Let's go to Luke chapter 15 and verse 11.
Con. This is Luke 15 and verse 11. And he said, a certain man have 2 sons, and the younger of them said to his father, Father, give me the portion of goods that falleth to me. And he divided unto them his living. And not many days after, the younger son gathered all together and took his journey into a far country.
Into a what?
A far country.
So there's a brother, right? There's a father and there are 2 sons. You got the older son, you got the younger son. The younger son takes his inheritance, right? And he goes to another country, right? Another land. Who are in other lands? Other nations of people, right? Read on.
Con. And not many days after, the younger gathered all together and took his journey to a far country, and there wasted his substance with riotous living.
He wasted all his money turning up, right? No, they say in the world, when in Rome, do as. Right? When in Rome, do as. So he went and lived amongst, I don't know, whatever people, right? He could have lived amongst Moabites, right? Nigga could have been freaking crisscross applesauce, right? Doing goddamn tea ceremonies, doing young ho woshi k ha ha, right? Doing some Buddhist meditation nonsense, right? He could have been over with the damn Canaanites doing God knows what, right? Could have been with the Romans partaking in damn Saturnalia, right?
Hey, this is Jake. This is Jake. Let's think about what Jake do with his bread. He gonna go to the strip club, right?
He's with the Canaanites at the strip club, just throwing them ones on them Canaanites, right? I know some of y'all brothers, y'all see them joints from South Africa, right?
Yep.
Listen, them brother was around them joints. Those are straight up Canaanites, right?
Sure.
And he was throwing them 20s, them 50s, and them 100s, bitch. Rack City. He was Rack City out in that joint.
You know he was.
Right? So this is the son, right? This younger son, he lives, right? He goes to another country and he wastes his substance, right? Read on.
Verse 14. And when he had spent all, there arose a mighty famine in that land. And he began to be in want.
So now he fell on hard times, right? Read on.
And he went and joined himself to a citizen of that country.
To a citizen of that country, meaning someone of another nation, right? He's amongst these people. Now he joined himself unto a citizen of that country, right? Read on.
And he sent him into his fields to feed swine.
To feed swine. Now it's very apropos that Yahawashi uses this imagery, right? Swine, because the swine is unclean to us, right? I'd be surprised if you had brothers with just flocks of swine in the land of Israel, right? Yeah, a pig is important because you can use it to eat garbage and things of that nature, right? But like, again, if it dies, now you gotta dispose of it, and now you're unclean, right? Read on.
Verse 16. And he would fain, have filled his belly with the husk that the swine did eat.
So now he's eating the muck with the pigs, right? Read on. Why? Because he left home, he blew his money, right? He's just living it up, right? Not living in the ways of understanding, right? He's now lost in another country amongst other people. He's now on hard times, and now he has to eat with the swine, right? Read on.
And no man gave unto him.
This is the toxic, the cyclical story of Israel, right? We want to be like these other nations. We want to live like them. We want to follow them, right? And they do what? They always oppress us. They always exploit us. No man did give unto him. Right? Read on.
Verse 17. And when he came to himself, he said, how many hired servants?
He said when he did what?
And when he came to himself,
when he came to himself, meaning when he got his senses, right? When he got his scruples back, right? When he came to his right mind, right? Read on.
He said, how many hired servants of my father's have bread enough to spare? And I perish with hunger.
Man, I know I left Pops. I left the crib. You know what I mean? And I just dishonored my father. I've been doing all this wild stuff. Damn, my dad got servants and they got enough food to even spare. Why am I still here? I gotta go back home. And let me tell you something. Here's the thing, right? For a son, when a son leaves home, right? Let's talk about how a man he'll find a wife and he'll cleave unto his wife and he'll leave mother and father, right? Yeah, and that's a good thing. That's part of life, right? But when you leave the nest and you gotta come back home, oh man, that's one of the worst, low, degrading feelings ever, right? I remember I had a situation where I had to come back home, right?
Yeah.
Luckily, all praise to the Most High, I was only back home for 2 weeks. I made my way back, you know what I mean, to where I had to be, right? He made my way back to Philly, right? But put yourself in this brother's shoes, right? He's in another country, in another land, right? He's a foreigner. No one's trying to help him, right? He's on hard times. Now he has to suck up his pride, right? He says, shit, man, let me go back to the crib. Even if I got to be a servant, he's thinking he's going to go home and have to be in the position of a servant.
And you got to think about it. He probably was sent off like really well off because the servants had feet. He said they had excess.
Yeah.
Right.
So the servant got excess.
So what did the son get when he got sent off?
Yeah.
And he squandered it.
And he blew that bread.
And now you got to come home and tell Pops.
Yeah, Pops. I'm down bad. Let me be a hired servant. Let me work my way back, right? But let's see what happens, right? Read on.
What was I at?
Read verse 18.
17.
You can read 18.
18. I will arise and go to my father, and I will say unto him, Father, I have sinned against.
I have what?
I have sinned against heaven and before thee. And am no more worthy to be called thy son. Make me as one of thy hired servants.
Make me as one of thy hired servants, right? So what did this brother do, right? He humbled himself. He acknowledged his sin, confessed it, right? And again, said, Father, listen, just make me like one of your hired servants, right? I'm not even worthy to be called your son, right? He had a contrite and broken heart, as David did. When David committed adultery with Bathsheba, right? We get Psalms 51, right? He had a broken and contrite spirit, right? When you sin, you got to have that broken and contrite spirit, because the Most High God does not have to have mercy on you. He doesn't. He's going to have mercy on whom he will have mercy, and compassion on whom he will have compassion, right? But you have to acknowledge your offense first, and that's what this brother did. This brother, he's a brother to his brother's back at home chilling, right? Read on.
And Slug, just to add to that point, right? Like a father, we're watching in movies all the time. We see scenarios where, especially with Esau, they might have that son who's just he's just a little piece of shit, but he fucks up, he comes back, he needs help, and he comes and he don't come in this spirit, but guess what? The father will still break you some off, get you right. But he came and was like, look, man, you could tell, like, I'm not even trying to come back as your son, right? But I'm trying to, come back to you, in your good graces, right? Because he's acknowledged, like, listen, I messed up. I went against what you taught me, right? I've sinned, right? So that lets you know, like, the spirit the brother is really in, and you know why the father's gonna react how he react, right? Verse 19, and am no more worthy to be called son. Make me as one of the higher servants. And he rose and came to his father. But when he was yet a great way off, his father saw him.
He said he was a yet what?
Great way off.
He was a great way off, meaning he was in the distance. Pop saw him. Listen, it's funny because you know your child, right?
Right.
Listen, you know your child by his gait, how he walk, everything, right? I remember I had went to visit my high school. I was in college and I went back to visit, and I went to go see my dean, right? She was a sister, right? Loved her, right? And she loved me. And I went to the office, and she had like one of the frosted glass windows, and she knew it was me by the way I was standing. I mean, that's crazy, right? So imagine a father, right? You know your child. Like my parents know me better than my high school dean, right? He saw his son in the distance, right? Saw him coming back, right? Read on.
Khan, a great way off, his father saw him and had compassion and ran and fell on his neck and kissed him.
So the father ran to him. He saw him coming, but the father met him, ran to him. That shows a level of compassion, right? Read on.
Khan. And the son said unto him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and in thy sight, and am no more worthy to be called thy son. But the father said to his servants, Bring forth the best robe.
The best robe.
And put it on him.
And
put a ring on his hand.
And give him some drip. Get my son right. All right. Give him the best, give him the flyest outfit, right? Put a ring on his finger, right? Read on.
And shoes on his feet.
Get him the best shoes, read on.
Come. And bring hither the fattest calf.
The fatted calf, right? So this is very important, right? So obviously, because we don't have a priesthood, right? And I'm not a priest, right? So I never really, as I've been in the truth, never really studied, right? Many of like Leviticus, like 5, 7 is all the commandments about how the priests are supposed to give certain sacrifices, right? So I was doing some research, right? And this is important for a plethora of reasons, right? Let me pull it up real quick, right? So he says, bring hither the fatted calf, right? And kill it and let us eat and be merry, right? So I was diving into the different types of offerings, right? So we have, of course, we have burnt offerings, right? A burnt offering, you burn the animal completely, right? No one eats of it, right? The animals that you typically have is a bull, without a male without blemish, a ram without blemish, a male goat, or a turtle dove for someone who's really poor, right? Now the purpose for a burnt offering is for atonement, dedication, total consecration, right? Then you have, of course, you have grain offerings, you have a peace offering, right? Peace offerings are really just for fellowship, gratitude. Like if I'm just, oh man, the Most High really put me on, let me bring a sacrifice, right? Most High really blessed me, I'm gonna give her a peace offering, right? Then you have a sin offering, right? These are for unintentional sins, right? Then you have a guilt offering. Let's say, for instance, right, there's a situation where my ox kills one of your oxes, right? I'm guilty of that, right? The law says that if an ox kills a man, right, and if it was known that this ox has charged people and the owner didn't put him up, right, the man's supposed to get put to death. Like, these are things that a lot of times we don't really focus on because, again, we don't have our own cattle, right? We don't have our own, land, right? We're in captivity, right? So we don't really think about these things. And of course, we don't have a functioning priesthood, and we don't have a temple where these sacrifices will be given, right? So you got the guilt offering, right? Then you have daily sacrifices, right? So now, real quick, right? When you're looking at these different animals, right? It's specifically for a sin offering, right? Watch this. In a sin offering, right? The high priest, and this is just so everyone understands, right? The high priest of Israel is like literally one of the top guys in the nation.
He's like the king. He's like,
you got the king. But think about before we had kings, right? The high priest was the number one guy,
right?
Essentially, or really number two, because truly, when we were in the wilderness, Moses was king. Deuteronomy, I think 33, it says that Moses was a king in Jeshurun, right? Jeshurun is a nickname for Israel. And then, of course, Aaron was the high priest. So the number two guy, right? So the high priest, when he makes an unintentional sin, right? And even for the Day of Atonement, right? There has to be a young bull killed on behalf of the high priest. Then there's a bull for the whole congregation, right? If a tribal leader sins, he has to sacrifice a male goat, right? And then a common person, a female goat or lamb, and then a poor person, birds or flour, right? Just think about the value, right, of a cow. Remember how I mentioned earlier, a cow is more valuable alive than dead. Because think about it. As that cow is alive, it's doing what? Right? If it's a male cow, right, it's breeding your female cows, producing what? More cows, right? It's working. You put it under a yoke, right? It's plowing your fields, right? A cow is very important. Even think about, let's say, for instance, you have to slay, kill a female lamb or female goat, or those that give you milk. You get milk from these sheep and from these goats and from these cows, right? From the females. So high value, right? I asked Google earlier yesterday. I took some screenshots, right? Where are we at? Dang, where is it? This the one I want? Okay, boom. So I asked about livestock, right? So, like the cost of livestock. So it said raising livestock annually today costs approximately $550 to $950 per cow, $200 to $400 per sheep, and $300 to $600 per goat. Heavily dependent on feed, hay, and vet expenses. These figures exclude initial land and infrastructure costs like fencing, shelter, and depends on whether you buy feed or rely on grazing, right? So it costs, there's a lot of resources that go into raising a cow, right? And just so we understand, like, I know today in our standard American diet, we can just go to the grocery store, right? Buy a pack of chicken wings, right? You could buy a whatever type of steak you want, right? But a cow has to get slaughtered, has to be skinned, right? Has to be broken down, it has to be gutted, has to be broken down into different parts, right? That's a lot of labor and work that goes into it, right? And that's why you have your price tag when you try to go buy that ribeye or that New York strip, right? That's why ribeye costs more than ground beef, because ground beef is just from the trimmings as the butcher is making their cuts, right? There's a lot of waste that goes into, butchering and things of that nature. So again, that cow, right, even before it's slaughtered, again, it has value, especially on a farm. That cow is doing work for you, right? Of course, you got to feed it, right? that cow does work. Literally, the law says, "Thou shalt not muzzle the ox when it's treading your field." Don't muzzle it, right? Because the ox has to eat as he's working for you, right? So I bring this up because I want brothers and sisters to understand how powerful this is, right? And really understand this parable. Again, I understand that the vast majority of us, right, have never been to a farm, right? Have never grown our own food, right? So a lot of times when we're looking at these parables that Yahawashi is giving, they're agrarian, right? They're, again, the Israelites were an agrarian society, right? We had cattle, right? We had our own fields where we grew our own food, things of that nature, right? And when you understand even the geography of Israel, it was dependent on rain. We didn't have like it's not like the Nile River where the river's just overflowing every year, right? And it's just rich, this rich river basin, right? Same thing with Mesopotamia, right? Babylon, all these places in Mesopotamia, literally between the Tigris and Euphrates River, right? Very fertile land, right? Our land was dependent upon rain. And if we weren't keeping God's commandments, the Most High God will stop the rain from coming, right? So we've been separated from our culture so drastically. We've fallen so far from grace. A lot of us don't truly understand like what went into our lives back then, right? When the Babylonians came against us, right? Jeremiah prophesied how when we're out of the land, that the land will enjoy her Sabbaths. Literally, the law says that in the 7th year, we're not supposed to plant any crops, not supposed to reap anything. Let the land rest and regenerate every 7 years. We're far from that, right? So we don't understand how a lot of stuff works. So again, the idea that this son was a dickhead, right? Lived amongst the heathen, did all types of God knows what. He comes back, confesses his sins, ready to be a servant in his father's house, right? And instead of that, the pops like, nope, get my son the best robe, put some fly shoes on him, right? Put a ring on his finger, right? And bring the fatted calf. Come kill it, and let's eat and be merry. I want other people to understand that our diet did not consist of meat every day, right, as it does today in the standard American diet. Right? We really only ate meat like that on special occasions, Passover, certain other feast days, right? Unless you were rich, but the vast majority of our people were poor. Why? Because we wasn't keeping God's commandments, right? We wasn't truly following God, right? So the fact that again that this father brought said bring the fatted calf, that's a lot of money, right? And that this lends into what? The jealousy, right? Let's read on.
Okay. Luke 15:24.
Mm-hmm.
For this my son was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found. And they began to be merry.
Again, so he was lost and he was found, right? Again, in order for you to be lost, you had to be with the person in order to be lost.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then, of course, ultimately to be found. Yahawashi came for that which is lost, the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Now, in Israel's history, especially during this time, who was lost? Are people who were living amongst the surrounding nations, which were what? Hellenized, Greek. That's who was lost. That's who Paul and the other apostles are going to. That's who Yahawashi is talking about. He's not talking about white people. He's not talking about non-Israelites. And just because he heals a non-Israelite's daughter or heals a centurion's servant, right, or does or helps a heathen out, does not equate to him dying for them, does not equate to, right, them having simultaneous salvation. It's not what that's not what that is, right? But again, we're coming here to give the true understanding of these parables, and it's important for you to understand these parables because Yahawashi spoke in parables so that people who are not his sheep wouldn't understand, but the sheep are going to hear his voice. I'm going to understand, right? Read on.
Okay.
25.
25. Now his elder son was in the field, and as he came and drew nigh to the house, he heard music and dancing.
Oh, they turned it. It's like, what's going on? He was out in the field doing what? Working, right? Read on.
And he called one of the servants and asked what these things meant.
Uh-huh.
And he said unto him, Thy brother is come. Thy father hath killed the fatted calf, because he had received him safe and sound.
Uh-huh.
And he was angry.
He was what?
He was angry.
The brother that stayed down, who stayed, home, who did his father's will, he's now upset because his good for nothing brother who took all his bread, went and did God knows what, he now back at the crib, and the father and Pops did what? He did what now? Read verse 27 again.
Con, and he said unto him, Thy brother is come, and thy father hath killed the fatted calf, because he hath received him safe and sound.
Because he killed the fatted calf. You know how much that fatted calf is worth? Right? You killed it for this good for nothing nigga? That's the mentality of this brother. Right? Read on.
Con, he was angry and would not go in. Therefore came his father out and entreated him.
He wouldn't even come into the crib. Man, I'm not going in there, man. Fuck. Can you imagine how mad you gotta be, right? That you won't even go inside the crib because your brother's home. That's crazy. Read on.
Mm-hmm. Con, and he answering said to his father, Lo, these many years do I serve thee, neither transgressed I at any time thy commandment.
Uh-huh.
And yet thou never gavest me a kid, that I might make merry with my friends.
Listen, I've been working. Like, you never gave me because again, I want y'all to understand that, like, we weren't just eating meat every day. I know. Listen, you can go to McDonald's and get you a double quarter pounder, right? Which probably got Epstein meat in there.
Yeah.
Right. You can go to the grocery store and buy a pack of chicken wings that got what 12 chicken wings. That means what 6 chickens had to get slaughtered. I know. Listen, I've never killed a chicken. Right. I know how to do it. Right. I've killed a lamb. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of
Yeah.
Listen, we kept Passover last year, right? We slaughtered the lamb around like 7:45, right? We had to skin it, right? We had to bleed it, right? We had to cut the meat, season the meat, grill the meat. We didn't eat until like 12. So that's 4 or 5 hours worth of work to eat, right? And when you have grain, when you have bread, like we ate bread every day, and it was real bread, right? Where it's actual protein, the full bran, right? The full germ. So it's actually nutritious for you. It's not this BS bread that you buy with all these preservatives and whatnot. Like, we had drastically different lives, people, right? So again, eating meat was for a special occasion. You never gave me even a kid, a sheep or a goat for me to make merry with my friends. Like us, we just, have a good time. He's jealous, right? Read on.
Mm-hmm. But as soon as this thy son was come.
So we gotta unpack that. He said, but as soon as this thy son, he didn't even say my brother.
Right.
He's not even recognizing him as his brother. He said your son. It's like when your kids get mad, you get mad at your kids, and your kids do something stupid, and you tell your wife, like, man, look what your son done did. Look what your daughter done did, right? You kind of disown them, not disown them, but you're like, nah, I'm putting it on you. Say your son, not my brother, your son. There's that enmity, right? There was a silly nigga said, "Oh man, the Jews be jealous of there was Jews from all these other nations. They were coming back, and we didn't have any problem with them, nigga. What are you talking about? That's not even true. Niggas just be running their mouth, bumping their gums, no sources, just chatting bare shit. No, nigga, this right here shows emphatically, right, how upset the Jews of Jewry, the ones who remained, right, the ones who were oh so righteous, right, the ones that they tell you how. Oh, why do your disciples not follow the customs of the elders and wash their hands before they eat bread, right? These snooty ass niggas, these high and mighty snooty ass freaking nose in the air ass niggas. This is what Yahawashi is talking about. Not about this. A nigga can't tell me that this is about white people.
Right.
They can't tell me that, right? But let's continue.
Right. But as soon as thy son was come, which have devoured thy living with harlots.
So this nigga is committing fornication with harlots, right? And again, for the record, for you simple niggas in Israel, sleeping with prostitutes is a sin. It's fornication. Point blank, period, right? He was out living with harlots, right? Read on.
Just tricking. Told you it was the women, man. The women.
That nigga was throwing cash, smacking cash on ass. That's what he was doing.
About a Jake, man. We're talking about a Jake.
This is a nigga.
But
this is a young crash out.
That's even further testament that this can't be Esau. We see what Esau do when he get rich, when he get money, he do with his substance. He like to touch kids. He like to
do coke,
man,
all types of stuff,
all the other crazy shit, right?
Yep.
Jake just want to just go out and be with the hoes.
That's all it is. Or where the hoes at, right? That's what young Jake says. He said, man, where the hoe, man? Oh man, man, where the hoes at? Pops, give me my bread. I'm out, right? Blew his bread on tricking on hoes, right? Read on.
Come, be living with harlots. Thou hast killed for him the fatted calf.
The fatted calf. Again, this is important because I would surmise that cows eat more food than sheep, right? So more resources go into that, right? You know how big cows are? How big is...
Again, he compared this to him not even getting a kid.
Yeah.
Right? We're talking about a baby goat.
Do calves get weaned off milk? Calves are typically weaned off milk between 6 to 8 months, right? So between 6 to 8 months, a cow is weaned off milk, right? Typically, right, when we're looking at, so the cow gotta be at least 6 to 8 months, at least, right? Because the scripture tells, "Thou shalt not see the kid in this mother's milk," right? Meaning, when a young ruminant, right, a young lawful sheep, lamb, goat, sheep and lamb, same thing, cow, right? You can't eat them when they're on their mother's milk, right? They have to be weaned off, right? So they have to be of a certain age. So between 6 to 8 months, right? So a 1-year-old yearling cow typically weighs between 650 and 900 pounds. It stands approximately 115 to 45 to 48 inches, right? So let's see an image of that's all I want. Let's see. All right, so watch it. So let's look at this video. Here's Esau. Look at all that hay, right? That's how it's getting fatted, right? So who's doing the feeding? Who's doing the feeding of this? It's the son and the servants who's doing this, right?
It's that time of year.
Oh God!
In the shed. I think it's a good time for us to catch up on the calves that I bought last winter. I'm planning on selling food as well. Now the cows have just come in through the shed last weekend. We are coming up. The comments on the calves. It's great to have a discussion over those types of things. Well, that's it. Nothing to talk about out here. Let's go in the shed and have a look at them. Oh, that's 3 of them right there. That's the Aberdeen Angus. That's the limousine. And that's one of the Herefords.
So again, that's a big animal, right? And how much do they weigh? Right? What is this? What did they tell us?
900.
About 900. Nigga, what? 900 pounds. 650 to 900 pounds. That's how much. That's how much a cow costs, right? All right, let's get this asshole ban you from the chat. Goofball, right? So again, this just goes to show, right, why the brother was jealous. Pop, you didn't even give me a kid, right? A kid could be a sheep or a goat. In a sheep, that we slaughtered a sheep last year for Passover, right? Of 1 year old, right? He's not huge, right? He like I carried him by myself, right? But again, they move around, right?
Mm-hmm.
I ain't carrying that big ass fucking cow we just saw.
Hell of work.
That's a lot of work, right? So this nigga went and blew a bunch of money on hoes, and you killed the fatted calf for this nigga, right? Read verse 31.
Verse 31. And he said unto him, Son, thou art ever with me, and all that I have is thine. It was meet that we should make merry and be glad. For this thy brother was dead and is alive again, and was lost and is found.
He was lost and he's found. So we should be happy about this, right? But again, this just goes to show the enmity that was between the ones that remained and the ones that departed. Now, you can say that, oh, this is talking about Hellenized Jews, but again, you also got to understand that we had just Hellenized Israelites in general, right? Up in Samaria, you had a remnant of Northern Kingdom, right? Example, John 4, the woman at the well, right?
Right.
The Samaritan woman, she says that Jacob is our forefather. That's an Israelite. Why do you think Yahawashi? So, question: why would Yahawashi say, "Don't go into the way of the Samaritans or any of the Gentiles, but go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel," and then give a parable about the Good Samaritan? What you got to understand is that you had Northern Kingdom up there, but primarily you had these men from Hamath and from Babylon, right? That where is it at? In 2 17, right? 2 Kings 17 and 24. And the king of Assyria brought men from Babylon and from Cuthah and from Ava and from Hamath and from Sepharvaim and placed them in the cities of Samaria instead of the children of Israel, and they possessed Samaria and dwelt in the cities thereof. So you had a bunch of heathen up there. So that's why Yahawashi is saying, listen, don't go into the way of the Gentiles, right? And into any city of the Samaritans enter ye not, but go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. To any cities. Well, where did he meet the woman? At a well, which is more than likely not inside of the city.
Mhm.
Right? So again, Yahawashi told you who to go to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Right? So again, you had Israelites, meaning northern kingdom, that was still in and around the land. We read about Anna, right, of the tribe of Asher. Right? So again, and then also we go into the presentation that we did this last month, right? If you have not watched the Acts 17 breakdown or the Cornelius breakdown, we were all over the place, right? We go into the Acts 17 breakdown, we see how the Lacedaemonians that we read about in Second Maccabees, those are Danites. Those are Danites, right? The Spartans that we read about in the movie 300, those were Israelites, right? So again, you had not just Northern Kingdom, you also had Southern Kingdom. Not just Southern Kingdom, you also had Northern Kingdom that were living amongst the heathen, right? Living amongst the heathen and essentially being heathen. And we called them heathen. We called them goy, right? We called them Gentiles. And this is who Paul was going to, right? Any questions, family?
That's not far-fetched, because even that was advised for heretics, right? Of the truth. Treat them like the heathen.
Treat them as a heathen, man. Any questions? So I saw this sister ask, how do you determine who's an Israelite and who's not, right? So it's dependent on your patrilineage, right? Now, I would say you don't want to get into endless genealogies, right? But the Bible lets you know who that a certain set of curses would be on a certain set of people, right? And not to say that an Edomite who has a black mother, right, white father, right, that they may or may not go through the struggle being adjacent to us, right? I'm not saying that that's not the case, right? But again, it's about your patrilineage, right? Numbers, the book of Numbers 1:18 lets us know that your pedigree is determined by the house of your fathers, right? When we look at Ezra 2:59, it says that these were they that came up from Tel Harsah, Tel Malah, right? And they could not show their father's house whether they were of Israel, because you have to your patrilineage has to be, right, Israel, right? We understand that so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans here in the Western Hemisphere, by and large, are the Israelites. Is every person that's classified as an African American an Israelite? No. Is everyone classified as a Latino or a Hispanic or Native American an Israelite? No, right? Then we have examples. You have your Bob Marleys, you have your Tracy Ellis Rosses, your Lauren Londons. What's that chick name? Maya Rudolph. She's an actor and a comedian, right? That's a white woman, right? You look at like someone like Meghan Markle, who is married to Prince Harry, right? That's an Edomite, right? She's not an Israelite. So it's all about your patrilineage. But by and large, so-called black, Hispanic, Native Americans here in the Western Hemisphere are the Israelites. Any other questions, family? We'll wait for another like maybe 10 minutes to take any questions.
Cool analogy too when I was reading about you know, the joy the father had, you know, the joy the father had when he, you know, his son came back and they threw a party, right? Well, you know, you read verse 10, it talks about how the angels in heaven rejoice, right? But then you go to Revelation 19 and 10, this is just further substantiating that the Israelites, you know, are the sons of God.
Hold on real quick. Ultimate Gohan, I just put a link in the chat. You can, if you want to ask your question that way, you can click the link and we can answer your question.
Kind of verse, Revelation 19, right? You read verse 10. The angel tells John that, you know, he's his brother.
Yeah.
Right. So when we read in Luke right here in 15, verse 10, the angels rejoice when one sinner returneth. It's literally the same as this parable.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Absolutely. The angels are celebrating, right? Just like this father and his son in the house, right? They're celebrating because their brother has come home.
Absolutely.
It's just cool. Right. This is how you know it's talking about Israelites, because the only people on earth, right? The only people we see in the Bible ever called sons of God are who? The angels and the Israelites.
Yep. Again, Ultimate Gohan, you can click the link, brother, and ask your question. All praise to the Most High. All praise to the Most High. Anyone else got any other questions? It don't have to be on the topic. Sister Hadassah the water for the catch up, sister. Appreciate you. All praise to the Most High. And make sure you guys like and share the video. Right, like and share the video so that your other brothers and sisters can get edified as well.
Okay.
Yeah, Ultimate Gohan, you can click. I just put this link in the chat, right? You can click the link and ask your question, brother. Or I'm assuming it's a brother. Oh, man. Anyone else got any questions? You can click the link as well. Brother, you got about 4 minutes. There he is.
Hello.
What's going on, brother?
What's going on, brother? Yeah, I'm a brother by any. Yeah, I'm a brother. I'm just letting you know that. I'm not.
Okay.
So I have a question because I asked I was watching another camp because I just be trying to get some more knowledge and understanding on certain things, right? So I had a question that was talking about like the end times is like and what's really going on. Not right now, but like what is to come. So I'm just gonna explain what my question is, and then you can answer me, elder. I mean, I don't mean to call you an elder because you're not like old, but you're just my older brother. You get what I'm saying? So
Yeah, I'm not an elder. I'm just a brother.
I
It's
got
all
you.
good. It's all good. Elders have the hoary head, right? I don't have a hoary head.
I got you. I got you, brother. All right. So my question ties together Matthew 20, in verse 1 all the way down to 16, Matthew 22, 11 to 13, and Ezekiel 20 and 38, and Isaiah 4 and 1, specifically in the relation to the wilderness period and the purging of the rebels and those who come into the truth at the last moment. My main question is this judgment describing Israelites who are gathered but then exposed as rebels and put to death during the wilderness purge, but I'm also wondering how Isaiah 4 and 1 fits with this. Not just I'm not thinking on a carnal level, but I'm just thinking it fits into this timeline. I understand that this verse is literal, but I'm looking like beyond that. Whether it points to Israelites, both men and women, just seeking righteous men of Yahawah near the like, and not like just trying to get with them, but just trying to learn. Like during the end of I guess Jacob's trouble, then attempting to come into the truth at the last moment. If so, could this connect to Matthew 20, verse 1 all the way down to 16, where the late laborers receive the same wage? And if
Well,
many are, and I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
And if many are coming in last minute, would that explain why Yahawaah still purges rebels, as stated in Ezekiel 20 and 38? Because not everyone who seeks refuge or association is truly obedient. Because I remember the precept that Christ was talking about: if those who don't want me to be their king slay them before me. So I just wanted to get some more understanding on that.
Gotcha. Good question. So I would say that Isaiah 4 and 1, right, where it says that 7 women shall take hold of a man, that's literal, right? Not meaning that, every man of the Lord, that 7 women, this means a complete amount, right? So, yeah, women are going to cleave to brothers at a specific time, right? And I would say that would be during Jacob's trouble. Now, when we're looking at the Matthew 20, which is going into the laborers, right, in the vineyard, think of it like this, right? Someone like Elder Tahar of GMS, right? He's been laboring in the truth for what? Over 30 years, right? Myself, I just made 7 or going into my 8th year, right? There are going to be brothers who come into the knowledge and who want to labor, right? As we get closer and closer and closer to the end, right? When Isaiah 4 and 1 is going to come to pass or start to come to pass, I can't put a time or date on it, but I would say it's going to be during Jacob's trouble, right?
Just for context, Isaiah 4, right? You reading at the end of 3, and it's describing a time, right? Just read 25. It says, thy men shall fall by the sword, and thy mighty in the war.
Mm-hmm.
And her gates shall lament and mourn, and she, being desolate, shall sit upon the ground. Right. So of course, is talking about Israel. So this is a time when Israel is going through trouble. Right?
Yeah. But again, when you look at Isaiah 3, you're also seeing like talking about actual women, right? Specifically Southern Kingdom, and the curses that's being put on them and whatnot. So and it rolls into 4, like literally women are going to cleave to righteous brothers, right? The scripture talk about how a man will be finer than more precious than fine gold, right? That a man will be a covert from the wind, right? Wind signifying destruction, right? So that's going to happen, I would say, during Jacob's trouble. Now, again, the laboring that we see in Matthew 20, right? The laboring is happening here. I would say it's happening here in Babylon and elsewhere, around the world where our people are, right? You got brothers in the UK who are laboring, doing the work, right? You got brothers down in the Caribbean, right? In South America, right? Puerto Rico, doing the work, right? Because the children of Israel are waking up all over the place, right? All over the world, right? We're waking up. Now, there are people who have not heard the fame of the Lord, right? I'm tripping. Let me get there real quick. It's in the book of Isaiah. Isaiah. So the rebel. So when we're looking at Ezekiel 20, right? That is when the remnant who's getting delivered out of Babylon, right? And all the other Israelites who are alive around the world get gathered to the wilderness, right? When they get gathered to the wilderness, right, there's going to have to be some purging, right? They're going to have to keep the commandments, right? But when we read in scriptures like, why is this John tripping? My browser is tripping, right?
I thought it was just me. Mine's just tripping too.
Heard.
Is it with the live?
I don't think so. You can hear us, right, brother? What's your name, King?
My name is Zayas, brother.
Zayas. Where you from?
I'm from Jersey. I'm from Patterson.
Okay. All praise to the Most High.
All praises, brother.
So, for some reason, my browser's not working. I'll just pull it up on my phone, right? So, when we look at even like Isaiah 66, let's get it real quick. Boom, 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 boom. Isaiah 66 and verse 19. It says, "And I will set a sign among them." So I'll start at verse 18. It says, "For I know their works and their thoughts. It shall come that I will gather all nations and tongues, and they shall come and see my glory. And I will set a sign among them, and I will send those that escape other nations to Tarshish and to Pul and Lud, that bend the bow, to Tubal and to Javan, and to the isles afar off, that have not heard my fame, neither have seen my glory, and they shall declare my glory among the Gentiles. And they shall bring all your brethren for an offering unto the Lord out of all nations, upon horses and in chariots and in litters and upon mules and upon swift beasts, to my holy mountain Jerusalem, saith the Lord, as the children of Israel bring an offering in a clean vessel into the house of the Lord. And I will take of them for priests and for Levites, saith the Lord," right? This one tripping. So anyway, we hear about there being a remnant being brought, right, who have not heard of the fame, right? Even when we look at, for instance, Deuteronomy chapter 30, I'm just going to take this off because it's tripping. Deuteronomy 30 says, "If any of thine be driven to the outmost parts of heaven, even from thence will the Lord gather you." Salakia. Right? Even from thence will the Lord gather you, right? So the children of Israel are going to get gathered from all four corners of the earth, brought to the wilderness, right? Those from Babylon, the vast majority of the Israelites here in Babylon are going to die, right? The vast majority.
Pursuing the prophecy, right?
Yes, pursuant to prophecy. Of course, you're going to have the elect of the elect, and then you have those who endure unto the end. They're going to get delivered, brought to the wilderness as well. We go under the bond of the covenant, right? But those who don't bow down, right? And you mentioned Luke 19:27. Christ says, "Those my enemies that will not, that I should reign over them, bring them hither before me and slay them." Right? That's happening in the wilderness. That's happening when the rebels are getting purged. The same way people who rebelled during the last Exodus, they were purged, right? You got Dathan and Korah. They try to usurp Moses. The Most High God done them off, right?
With the earthquake.
Yeah, you got the children of Israel murmuring, right? The Lord sending serpents amongst them, right? The Most High God was killing Israelites left and right. When we look at when Moses came down from the mountain, the niggas was partying and having a good old grand time, right? Some interpretations think that niggas was having straight up orgies, like they were wilding, right?
And he broke the tablets when he came down there.
Moses was mad, right? Niggas got put to death, right?
Yeah.
So same way that we see the last Exodus, we're gonna have similar parallels in this upcoming Exodus, where rebellious niggas are going to rebel, and get put to death, right? Now, this has to happen before we go under the bond of the covenant, right? Because when we go under the bond of the covenant, the law will be written in our inward parts, and we're going to walk in God's statutes, right? We won't be able to rebel, right? So to harmonize that with, of course, Jacob's trouble and some brothers coming in the last minute pursuant to Matthew 20, right? That's on this side. That's before you get delivered out of Babylon. If let's say, for instance, right, I've been laboring for 7 years, you've been laboring for a year or two, right? And we get delivered, let's say, in 3 months. That would just be phenomenal if that was the case. I don't think this was going to happen, but let's say, for argument's sake or for just analogy, right? You labored, I labored, right? We're getting the same reward, right? Salvation, right? Glorified bodies, new covenant, all that good. So we're getting the same reward. It's not that, oh, because I labored for 7 years, I'm going to get more glory or not. No, that's not what Yahawashi is saying in Matthew 20. But does that answer your question, brother?
Yeah, that answered my question, and I don't want to keep you here too long, but this is a good opportunity for me to ask good questions.
Go ahead, bro. That's cool.
I know in the scriptures, I know it's in the New Testament. I think Paul said it. I'm very humble, brother, so I'm not gonna act like I know everything. I know he said something about that we shall be changed, like we shall not be asleep, but we shall be changed. Is that talking about the glorified bodies?
So, I believe that's what Paul's talking about, and I've actually have been looking into that because, again, this goes back to the point that I made a few months ago as I was doing my peer review for
Deacon and Assad.
Yeah, right. The apostles, they believe that Yahawashi was returning within their lifetime. So they get certain things wrong, right? They apply prophecies to their day incorrectly, prophecies that have yet to be fulfilled, right? So when I'm looking at, I haven't dove into that particular passage in quite some time, but I think this is another situation where Paul, again, is thinking that we're going to get delivered. That they were going to get delivered within his day. Let me see, where's that at? We shall be changed.
And like you said before, it's not bad that they were thinking that, but you could still say they were incorrect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's 1 Corinthians chapter 15.
51.
I want to see where I want to start. I mean, that was not okay. So yeah. So behold, I show you a mystery. We shall not all sleep, but we shall all be changed. In a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trump, for the trumpet shall sound, and the dead shall be raised incorruptible, and shall be changed. For the corruptible must put on incorruption, and this mortal must put on immortality. So when this corruptible shall have put on incorruption, and this mortal shall have put on immortality, then shall be brought to pass the saying, as it was written, death is swallowed up in victory. O death, where is thy sting? O grave, where is thy victory? Let's see. The sting of death is sin, and the strength of sin is the law. But thanks be to God, which gave us the victory through our Lord Jesus Christ. Right. Therefore, my brother, my beloved brother, be steadfast, unmovable, all and always abounding in the work of the Lord, for as much ye know that your labor is not in vain in the Lord. Right. So again, this lends to that idea that, again, Paul thought that they were getting delivered within their day. And I think there's a way to truly harmonize his understanding, right? So when he says right here in verse 56, right? It says, the sting of death is sin, and the strength of sin is the law, right? So the law, according to the new covenant, is going to be written in the inward parts of the Israelites.
Or we don't sin again, right?
We won't sin again, right? So I think when we go into that bond of the covenant, that's when we will be changed, right? A lot of people take this to mean that, oh, once you get, when the Israelites get beamed up on them chariots, they're gonna get glorified bodies as soon as they get beamed up on the chariots,
Yeah,
right?
that's what I heard. Yeah, I heard
Yeah,
that.
and that don't make sense, and that doesn't harmonize with prophecy, because we look at Ezekiel 20, right? Again, we have to be gathered to the wilderness. Rebels have to get purged, and then we go under the bond of the covenant, right? And then we enter into the land, right? We're, Lord willing, we're of that number. We're getting beamed up out of here, placed in the wilderness for I don't know how long. Belt getting put to ass to anyone that rebels, and then everyone that bows to the king, to Hamashiach Yahawashi, right? We enter into that bond of the covenant. That's when we get changed. And you can say, oh, that's in the twinkling of an eye. That's going to be like that, right? And then we're going to enter into the land. So it's a way to kind of harmonize that, right? But again, this just goes to show that Paul believed that salvation was coming within their day.
Just to add to the corruptible, right? This is credence to it being, when them laws get put on our inward parts, right?
Mm-hmm.
You read in 1 Peter, right? Let me go to 1. I think in 23, where it calls the law, right? Being born again, not of corruptible seed, but of incorruptible by the word of God, which liveth and abideth forever. Right?
Ooh, that's a good one.
So right there's the word of God abiding in you forever, right? For us to fully achieve that has to be, like we were just going into that the law of God, which is the word of God, being put in us, right? Us being as like Adam at his first estate, where we're perfect with the Lord.
So, brother, I'm actually I dive into 1 Corinthians 15. Now that I think about it, in this video, I just put the link in the chat, right? But if you go to my page, right, you go to videos and you go all the way down, right? This video right here is eternal life for all races. Here's the truth. Watch this video. I go into this word for corruption and incorruption, because this also doesn't mean that we're not. This also does not mean that we're going to live forever. Right?
Yeah, and I was in that bothered me, because I had saw brothers. I'm sorry to rant, but I had saw brothers saying that we're going to be immortal, and I know Yahawah alone is immortal. So I was like, how that's going to work?
Yeah, only person that's so in this lesson I go into it. Yahawashi is the only one that's going to be living on the earth forever. Right?
Yeah,
We're going to have cycles of 1,000-year lifespans, right, or full days, where we're not going to die, right? So we're not going to be corrupted, meaning our bodies are going to go into the ground and they're going to decompose. No, we're going to get translated, kind of how Enoch was translated, kind of how Elijah was translated. But I'll go into all of that in this video right here, this eternal life video. This is probably one of the best lessons I've ever done. The way that I did this presentation was super dope. I will not be doing another lesson like this again, because it took a lot of work. Like, when I tell you a lot of work. But yeah, check that video out, King. That puts a lot of things into perspective based on some of these questions. Do you have any other questions?
I have a question. I guess is like with two parts. I asked somebody else, because I try to, like, I'm very open just to trying to learn understanding and knowing when to apply it or not, if it's feeling right. So I asked certain people before. I spoke to certain camps before, and I was wondering, like, the mark of the beast and how is that gonna work? Like, what is it? And all of that. Like, I want to know more about that, because I didn't, I'm not in a camp right now, but I am willing to learn and stuff like that. I'm very humble in learning.
Gotcha. So we literally just did 2 months ago. We did a live warning the mark of the beast is upon us. So there's many people in the Israelite community that said that the mark of the beast is spiritual, that it's Christianity, it's all this other nonsense. None of that makes sense, right? When I was a so-called Christian, I knew what the mark of the beast was, right? the mark of the beast is the RFID microchip, right? There's going to come a point in time, right? Because this is what we see going on right now in the news, right? We see the economy that they're trying to digitize everything. They're trying to digitize the stock market, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to change the entire financial system. I believe next month or either April 1st or March, some date in March, they're going to be getting the new framework for the new financial system to make everything digital, right?
Okay.
Once the framework is in play, right, then at some point in time, it's going to be mandatory that you get the RFID chip, right?
For
Yeah.
all your assets to be
Yeah.
registered.
In order to gain access to commerce, right? If you don't follow the beast and follow the program, then you're not going to be able to engage in commerce. And that's literally what Revelation 13 tells us, right? That you won't be able to buy or sell, engage in commerce, except he that had the mark of the beast, right?
Yeah.
And then here's the thing. The next chapter says that those that receive the mark of the beast are going to drink of the wrath of God, which is poured out without measure.
And die.
If the mark of everyone that gets the mark of the beast is going to die, right? We look at the vials, right? The seven last plagues. The first plague is a gruesome and noisome sword that falls upon all that receive the mark of the beast, right? There's no if the mark of the beast is somehow Christianity or philosophy or spiritual, right? That means that every single one of us
is cooked.
We might as well pack it up. We might as well just be wicked, evil ass niggas, right? And not serve God because we're finito. If that's the mark of the beast, it doesn't make sense. But yeah, check out
anything mentally, spiritually, for that matter. We just read, right, that you know, people that believe in Yahawah, right? People that come in the truth were Gentiles in time past. Well, what's that mean? If you're Gentiles in time past, you were in all these other ideologies. So, in other words, if you're in whatever these guys are deeming as, you know, the mark of the beast, then there's no way for you to repent.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had saw that in IUIC and ISUPK, and I was like, oh, I was like, that's what they're thinking, because I used to always follow Sakari, so I know I used to always speak about it's a chip. Then when I started hearing that, I was like, I'm confused. Like,
yeah, and that's the thing. Honestly, you know, I when I first came into the truth, I used to watch pretty much everyone, and then when I got a little bit more seasoned, and as I started teaching more, I used to tell people, listen, find a camp or a congregation that you know gels with your spirit, right, and follow. To not get confused, follow that camp. Don't be following camps that have differing understandings on various different topics, right? Because if you're young and you're a babe, you're going to confuse yourself, right?
Yeah.
And that's what you don't want to do.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you have answered all my questions, brother. Thank you so much. Thank you, you two brothers. Like, y'all both are very grateful for this. This is, you know, very edifying.
All praise to the Most High. We should be doing some Bible Q&As within the next couple of weeks or so. So definitely tap in. All right, King?
Okay, I will. Thank you so much again, brothers.
No problem, bro. You be safe. Shalawam, and keep being diligent, King.
I will. And one last thing, where would you say we're exactly at right now? How would you try to, like, where would you say we're at right now due to what's going on in the world?
We're not in the end. Yeah, we're in the end times, right? But we're not in the end, right? I would say that we're in Jacob's trouble. Jacob is clearly in trouble, right? We see what's going on with with Cuba, Venezuela, everything with ICE, right? Jacob is 1,000% in trouble, right?
Yeah.
But we haven't seen the worst of the worst yet. And I truly think that's going to happen as these Epstein files continue to be a thing, right? As ICE continues to be a thing, right? There's going to be sedition amongst men, right? Race wars is still coming, right? And that's a lot of the heavy stuff that brothers will have to endure. how long we got left here, I don't know. Right, I can't put a number on it because no
Of
man
course.
an hour. But I would say conservatively, we probably got another. I would say at least maybe another 5 years. I hope not. I hope less than that. I hope we get the fuck out of here this year.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know
I
what I
hope
mean?
so. I pray about that daily, man.
I hate this place, right? But the thing is, the scripture said that the days shall be shortened for the elect's sake,
Hey.
and as I remember, I think I said this last live, right? My neighbor, me and him, we be talking about geopolitics and about what's going on with, you know, Russia and China and Iran and all that stuff. And I was like, damn, this nigga Putin's been like pussyfooting and like he tries to be so diplomatic with the American, and it really it pisses both of us off. And I'm like, the thing is, like, the scripture, the prophecies about, you know, the Prince of Meshach, which right now he's currently the Prince of Meshach. We don't know if he's going to be the ultimate Prince of Meshach, but it's looking like he's a guy. It says that God's gonna have to put hooks in his jaw, right? And a hook, right? You catch fish, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you ever gone fishing, fish they fight. They fight. So God's gonna have to reel him in to do what he wants, right? Of course, the Lord is in control of all things, right? But using the imagery, right? I see the Most High putting those hooks in his jaw even more and more so now, because he came out and said, listen, if the US strikes Iran, it's about to be a wrap. And that lines up with that prophecy. It says that he needs to be a guard unto Persia, which that's Iran, right? Iran is Persia. So yeah, we're very close to World War III kicking off. I would say that we are in World War III, but like the big shebang, right, where stuff starts to get really, really interesting, I definitely see once the U.S. strikes Iran, where there's no going back, right? So we're close, bro. It's just you gotta stay diligent, stay focused, right? Keep your eye on the prize, right? You know, when Peter and the disciples saw Yahawashi walking on the water, Peter went to walk after him. When he took his eyes off Yahawashi, took his eyes off the word, he sunk, right? So in order for you to stay afloat in these last days, you got to keep your eye on the prize and keep your eye on Yahawashi and follow him.
And that is so true. And do you is there particular verses that talk about like dealing with Russia? Like is that Gog and Magog, or I'm getting mixed up? I don't.
Yeah, Gog. That's talking about Russia, right? That's Ezekiel 38 and Ezekiel 39.
Okay, and that talks about like what's supposed to happen, right?
Mm-hmm. They're gonna look. So Lord willing, well, that number. What will happen is they're going to, of course, be a guard into Persia, which is Iran and other countries. They're gonna be mustered up to be hosts of the battle, right? Of course, they're gonna have a hand in destroying Babylon, right? And then once the children of Israel are in the wilderness or going to the bottom of the covenant and enter into the land, they're going to try to come and take a spoil of us.
Yeah.
And that's when Belt going to get put to ass, and you know what I mean, everything else plays out how climax is in 38 and 39. But yeah, definitely read those. If you got any questions, you can hit us up.
All right. And what you just said about the when we go back to our land, is that going to be talking about the Valley of Jehoshaphat, then Armageddon, or is Valley Jehoshaphat before Armageddon, or that's around the same time?
One's before the other. I forget the exact one. I do plan on doing like a full end time prophetic timeline, or within the next it probably will come out after Passover, right? Because there's a lot trying to put that together. But I'll be doing a full breakdown, Lord willing, within the next couple of months or so. But one is before the other. They're not the same.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, brothers.
No problem, King. Shalawam.
Shalawam. Y'all have a great day.
You too. All praises. Shout out to bro. I think we got someone else. They will defend whoever's in the back chat, defend your mic and you gotta leave and come back because your mic and your camera is not enabled. You have to allow your mic and your camera. All praise to the Most High King. Let's see if bro come through. If anyone else got questions that you want to put in the chat, you can put them in the chat. Oh, sheesh.
Clearly showing that they have taken him.
Oh, snap.
What's this?
There's a YouTube channel I follow that does a lot of news. And the headline is "Explosions Rock Iranian Missile Bases, Fighter Jets Over Iraq, Breaking War News" with the channel's called The Enforcer. I don't know what's going on. Hold on. Let me check. Let me check the tweet.
Israel or America?
I don't know, but if explosions rock missile bases, that's crazy. So yeah, the Taliban and Pakistan are at war right now. So Afghanistan versus Pakistan. Let's see what's going on. Yikes. Alert record. Okay, no, that's the cartel. Islamabad is that's Pakistan. Yeah, Pakistan and fucking Afghanistan going crazy. Just in the United States says. Uh-oh. 7 hours ago, from Bricks News, the United States says Iran has begun taking American hostages.
American hostages.
Yeah. This was earlier today. So it says on February 27, 2026, Secretary of State Rubio designated Iran a state sponsor of wrongful detention over its pattern of detaining Americans and others. The statement calls for release of those currently held, but does not report any new hostage takings have begun. So I'm not too sure what's going on.
Let's see alert. And that was 16 hours ago. But U.S. personnel reportedly urged to leave Israel.
Yeah, they're expecting retaliation.
Mm-hmm.
So oh, snap. 2 hours ago, Iran is calling on its citizens to leave the United Arab Emirates, Kuwait, Qatar, Bahrain, and Jordan. The region is on the verge of an explosion. Why is that? Right? That's because some attacks are getting ready to happen. And here's the thing. China has been giving Iran all of the U.S.'s whereabouts. Whenever a ship moves, whenever an airplane moves, they know. Right? So Iran's going to be ready. And then you also got Russia. Russia is on Iran's side. So listen, Putin is being a guard unto Persia. Lord willing, he is that guy. Lord willing, he's God, and Lord willing, we get to throw that nigga in the lake of fire. But yeah, man, this is insane. All right. Any other questions? Nope. All right, family. With that, I want to give all praises, all glory, all honor to the Most High God, whose name is Yahawah. Of course, we do so in the name of His only begotten Son, Yahawashi, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. Until next time, Shalawam and Matawathya.
Shalom. Shalom. Yasharahla.